Hi all, welcome to this Chinese Super League Player of the Year SBC predictions video. We may have this to drop alongside all the other Player of the Year SBCs, so we can smash likes would be awesome. Sub to the channel if you're new. Follow me on Twitter at @GIsaLegend. All links are down below for posting the channel and social media links as always. Now, as you can see by the thumbnail, some potentially godly looking cards, but whoever gets the Player of the Year award will be interesting. Now, looking at the dates, it seems to suggest around the 12th of November. That was when the 2017 award was announced. So you've got just under 2 weeks to kind of expect this. Now that would kind of suggest that a lot of, if these Player of the Year SBCs were to kind of drop fast and furious, then this one may kind of fall inside with the Irish Player of the Year or MLS or whatever that's kind of around that time. Now, be aware that this may not happen, and that is maybe why we've been given the League SBC cards now. Now, if you were to look at the League SBCs, I think part of the reason why it was Oscar and Renato Augusto is because they were both for assists. Now, in terms of the Player of the Year, it seems kind of set up to either be Lei, Oscar or Hulk that are going to win the award. Now, Lei is currently on 25 goals for the season. He is ahead of players like Agallo, Hulk, Tardelli, just to name a couple, while he has got 10 assists as well for the season and is combined of 35. Oscar has 33 combined with 12 goals to 21 assists. Then you next have Zahavi with 18 goals, 8 assists. Hulk with 12 goals, 13 assists. So, and then going down to Tardelli and Augusto with 17 and 7 for Tardelli, and then 10 goals and 14 assists for Renato Augusto respectively. Now obviously these are just all predictions, folks, so be fully aware of this. That's why I've put in 2 informs, minimum of 4 Chinese Super League, 4 nations, because while you may have a Brazilian for if say Oscar or Hulk was to win, yes you may need a handful of say Chinese Super League players. You'd maybe end up with 3 or 4 Brazilians in the form of like Hulk, Oscar, Talisca and Renato Augusto, but then you may require other players. Now be aware as well, if it's Woolley or even saying that, any of them, it's going to be multiple routes. If it's Leiwu, it will be the Chinese Super League. I would assume kind of a route maybe like this, just a standard route, then follow maybe a second route to follow, unless they decide to make it one dedicated route for Leiwu, make it 84 rated like this, 2 informs, 2 or 3 informs with a minimum amount of Chinese Super League players, a handful of rares, a handful of nations, and then taking it from there, because you'd end up finding potentially that you would build as a rough squad for Leiwu. You would go Jonathan Vieira would be quite popular, Talisca would be quite popular, and someone like Oscar would be quite popular. You'd end up finding 3 or 4 players. You might then end up with Inform Agallo up top, but then you'd maybe build a La Liga squad or a Liga NOS squad. You'd end up finding right away where the squad would work, because keep in mind as well that you may have Inform Felipe for Team of the Week 7, so that's why I'm saying if it was Brazilian, you may, as long as you don't set a max nation requirement, then I would assume you could get, as I said, you could get away with Vieira, Agallo, say even Zahavi, and even Leiwu or whoever up top, someone else up top, and then just going Liga NOS with Brahimi, Inform Felipe, and then Casillas and so forth. You'd end up like, if as long as it's not max nations or max leagues, you could easily probably get away with that. But obviously, regardless, like, yes, I've put Paulinho in, but the reason why I've put Paulinho in this, while he's had a very good season looking at the stats, I don't necessarily think he could win the award. Like, he has 11 goals and 6 assists for Guangzhou Evergrande, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win the award. Like, he rejoined in the summer, and to have that return is no mean feat. Like, Talisca's 15 goals, 6 assists, and he joined in the summer. So right away you've got players that are doing the business very early on in like their transfers, as it were. They've pretty much done like half a season and they've run absolutely riot in the division. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to, say, win the award. It all comes down to, obviously, the professionals, and maybe say, depends how the award gets won. It could be all the managers, all the players, and then the media, like the Chinese media. But for me, I would personally say, with Oscar, for example, with his particular route, you would have to then prepare for, say, Chelsea. You may have to prepare EPL. You'd have to prepare Brazilian, because there is the notion that if guys like Oscar and Hulk, like with Oscar, for example, while he might not be the most desirable card out there, but if he was 90 rated, because his league SBC card is 86, I'm just giving it a boost of +4, you could have every right to even give it a 91 for that matter. With Oscar, while he would be maybe say 200, he might only be say 150, 200k for a 90 rated special card. The thing is then, do you make his card, or that one route, do you make one route like say 86, 87 rated, just make it really expensive with 2 or 3 informs, 3 or 4 Chinese Super League players? But that's when you would then find Paulinho would be the card that everyone will go for that particular route. They will go Oscar, they will go Paulinho, they may go Jonathan Vieira, and then like inform Gallo. People will have like the routes then very precisely sussed to that point. If it's Hulk, you may have to then prepare for a Russian League based team or Russian League players, because you don't have Zenit in the game anymore, because he used to play for them. You may have to prepare for Porto, you may have to prepare a Liga NOS based squad. So that's kind of why I'm still suggesting, as a whole, depending how they were to set this up, that's why I'm kind of still hinting at Liga NOS, because then you're covered from the possibility of Hulk winning the award. You're prepared for, because the Liga NOS players generally get commonly used as cheaper alternatives out with the big leagues, because of players like Brahimi, Dost, Jonas, Bruno Fernandes, Casillas, Jardel, Felipe, Pizzi, these type of players. So you find yourself not having to struggle too much. And it's going to be, for me, like if Wei Lu wins it, he's going to have like 95 pace, probably 95, 96 pace. He's going to have like, you've got to remember, because he's 75 rated as a base card, you suddenly have to really give him a very worthwhile boost, because one inform would put him to an 81, a second inform puts him to an 84. So then do you say that the Player of the Year card should put him to an 86? It then makes him feel a bit more justified, and then it's also above 2 informs practically. It almost then seems the fairest level. Like Zahavi, for me, is another one. He could have been, as I said, if he'd been at Shanghai or Guangzhou Evergrande or Shandong and had this type of season, or maybe even had like say 10 more assists, then he'd probably win the award by a landslide, because he always seems to be very consistent in China. But looking at the award as a whole, Lei Wu, for me, is the one I would expect to win this award. I think it would make a little bit of justification, because the Chinese league kind of needs its own superstar. It doesn't need, while it's had the influx of like the Brazilian players or players that came from Europe to China, this is the one time where Lei Wu, who has played for the league, is the all-time goal scorer in the league. I think this is set up to be him that's going to win the award. He's finally, everything's clicked this season, and it is proving to be that way. But as I said, be prepared for options like Oscar, like Hulk. Even if Zahavi was to sneak in, or Tardelli or Renato Augusto, as long as you're prepared from, as I said, Liga NOS, say EPL, Brazilians, informs, and the good rated Chinese League, Super League players like Vieira, Hulk, Oscar, Zahavi, informed like Agallo and Talisca. But hopefully this gives you plenty of food, and even Paulinho for that matter, folks. But I'm hoping this gives you plenty food for thought. I thought I'd make this a fair bit longer, because there is quite a lot to take in, and as I said, I nearly totally forgot about this, and I thought I'd give as much depth on this particular one as possible, because this one I think does need a fair bit of attention. So let me know in the comments down below who you think will win the Chinese Super League Player of the Year. Smash the likes as always, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GZLegend, and I'll catch you all later.